Once upon a time, in a hidden corner of the world, there was a forest that seemed to belong to a different realm, untouched by time or the troubles of the outside world. This was the Whispering Forest, a place where the air was always fresh, and the trees stood tall and proud, their leaves a vibrant blend of greens that danced in the light breeze. Every night, the forest came alive in a way that was beyond ordinary comprehension. The trees, ancient beyond measure, whispered to each other, their voices soft and melodic, like a lullaby carried on the wind. The Whispering Forest wasn't just a place of beauty, it was a sanctuary, a place where all who entered would find peace. The leaves rustled in a rhythm that could calm even the most restless soul. The streams flowed with a soft murmur, as though they, too, had their own story to tell. The very ground beneath your feet felt soft, as if the earth itself were supporting you, urging you to relax and let go of your worries. Within this magical forest lived a small, gentle fox named Lumi. She was unlike any other creature in the forest, for her fur was as white as snow, shimmering with a soft glow under the moonlight. Her eyes were bright and filled with a wisdom that seemed far beyond her years, a glow that resembled the silvery stars that shone in the night sky. Lumi was the guardian of dreams, a role she had inherited from her ancestors long ago. Her task was a simple yet important one: to help those who were struggling to sleep, to guide them into peaceful slumbers through the soothing whispers of the forest. Each night, Lumi would wander the woods, collecting the calm, quiet sounds of nature, the rustling leaves, the gentle sway of the branches, the soft gurgle of the streams, and carry them to those who needed them most. She would seek out those who could not find peace, whether they were troubled by anxiety or restlessness, and share the whispers with them, easing their minds and guiding them into a world of serenity. One evening, as the moon began to rise in the sky, Lumi noticed something strange. The usual soothing sounds of the forest were absent. The wind no longer whispered through the trees. The brook had grown silent, and the stars seemed to fade behind a curtain of clouds. There was an eerie stillness that settled over the Whispering Forest, and Lumi's heart grew heavy with concern. The forest was never quiet like this, its sounds were always gentle, like a lullaby, lulling all into a peaceful sleep. But tonight there was nothing. Worried, Lumi made her way to the heart of the forest, where the oldest and wisest tree stood. This tree, known as the Wise Willow, was the oldest living being in the forest. It had seen centuries pass, watched the seasons change, and had witnessed the ebb and flow of countless lives. Its bark was a soft silver, and its roots spread deep into the earth, connecting the tree to the very heartbeat of the land. It was said that the Wise Willow held the collective knowledge of the forest and could answer any question, provide wisdom, and offer guidance when needed. Lumi approached the Wise Willow, her small paws soft against the earth. "Wise Willow," she called, her voice filled with worry. "Something is wrong. The forest is silent tonight. The stars are hidden behind clouds, and I can't hear the usual whispers of the trees. What is happening?" The Wise Willow's branches swayed gently, and the air around it seemed to shimmer with a quiet energy. After a long pause, the tree's voice filled the air, slow and deep, like the sound of a distant rumble. "Ah, Lumi," the tree said, "I have been expecting you. The outside world is restless tonight. There are those beyond the forest who are troubled, and their unrest has reached us. The whispers of the trees are quieter, and the wind has ceased its song. The peace of the forest has been disturbed by the worries and fears of those who live beyond our borders. Lumi's heart sank as she listened to the wise willow's words. She had always known that the forest was a place of serenity, a place where the worries of the world could be forgotten. But now it seemed that the troubles of the outside world were seeping into the very fabric of the forest. The stillness she felt wasn't just a temporary pause, it was a reflection of a deeper unease that had spread beyond the forest's peaceful borders. "What can I do to help them?" Lumi asked softly, her voice filled with concern. "How can I restore peace to the forest and the world beyond?" The wise willow's voice rumbled once more. "You must share the forest's whispers, Lumi. The sounds of the trees, the streams, the breeze, these are the gifts of the forest. They have the power to calm troubled minds and soothe restless hearts. But you must take them to those in need, to those who cannot find sleep, to those who are filled with anxiety. Only then will the peace of the forest return, and the stars will once again shine brightly in the sky." Lumi nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "I will do it," she said. "I will carry the whispers to those who need them. The forest's peace will not be lost." With that, Lumi began her journey, moving through the forest with grace and purpose. She traveled deeper into the woods, where the air was cooler and the trees grew even taller. As she walked, she could feel the weight of the world beyond pressing against the edges of the forest. It was as if the forest itself could sense the turmoil outside, and the very ground beneath her feet seemed to carry the echoes of the troubled minds. Her first stop was the hidden brook, a small stream that wound its way through the forest. The brook had always been a place of peace, its waters trickling over smooth stones, creating a soft, melodic sound that was said to ease the mind and bring comfort to those who listened. Lumi knelt by the stream, listening intently to the gentle murmur of the water as it flowed over the rocks. She closed her eyes and let the sound fill her, gathering into her heart. As the brook's peaceful hum washed over her, Lumi captured the sound in a small, crystal vial she carried with her. She carefully bottled the soft melody, knowing it would help calm the hearts of those who needed rest. The water's gentle murmur would soothe their minds and carry them into a peaceful sleep, away from the worries of the world. Next, Lumi made her way to the meadow of mists, a beautiful clearing where the air was always thick with a soft, ethereal fog. The mist in this meadow had a calming effect, and the flowers that grew there released a sweet fragrance that seemed to float on the air, wrapping itself around anyone who entered. The scent of lavender and mint was especially strong in this part of the forest, and it always made Lumi feel calm and at ease. She took a deep breath, letting the mist surround her. She allowed the peaceful atmosphere to fill her, absorbing the scent and the serenity that the meadow offered. Lumi gathered the fragrance in her vial, mixing it with the sound of the brook she had collected earlier. She now had two powerful gifts of peace to share. Lumi continued her journey, reaching the moonlit glade, a beautiful clearing where the moonlight seemed to bathe everything in a soft, silvery glow. The trees here were ancient, their bark covered in delicate moss, and their branches stretched out like arms, cradling the sky. The sound of the wind through the leaves created a soft, whispering melody that echoed through the entire forest. Lumi stood beneath the tallest tree in the glade, listening to the wind's gentle song as it passed through the leaves. She captured the sound in her vial, adding it to the collection she had already gathered. Now, Lumi had three powerful gifts to offer: the soothing sound of the brook, the calming fragrance of the meadow, and the peaceful whisper of the trees. These gifts would surely bring rest to those who needed it. But Lumi knew that her journey was not over. She had to go to the very edge of the forest, where the trees met the world beyond. There she would release the gifts she had gathered, sharing the peace of the forest with those who needed it most. Lumi's paws moved softly over the forest floor, and as she approached the edge of the whispering forest, she could feel the tension in the air. The trees thinned here, their branches no longer interwoven in the thick, protective canopy. The land beyond was open, exposed, and the quiet hum of the forest grew faint. Lumi stopped at the last tree that marked the border between the forest and the outside world. It was an old oak, its bark gnarled and twisted, standing strong against the forces that sought to cross it. She placed a paw on the tree's trunk and took a deep breath, knowing that her mission had only just begun. The world beyond the forest was filled with noise, restlessness, and a never-ending rush. Lumi had ventured here many times before, but tonight she could feel the difference. The usual hum of distant chatter, the hurried pace of life, the dissonant sounds of machines and engines, it all seemed louder, more chaotic. It was as if the worries of the world had grown heavier, pressing against the delicate balance of the forest. She knew that it was here, at the boundary, that she could share the calming gifts she had gathered. The wind picked up slightly, and Lumi felt the whispers of the trees stir within her. The time had come. With a determined heart, Lumi walked just beyond the oak tree, carrying Théviel with the soothing sounds and fragrances of the forest. As she stood in the open space, the air seemed to respond, swirling around her as if acknowledging the forest's presence. She whispered softly the words carried by the breeze, and released the contents of her veil into the air. The first to feel it were the creatures of the meadow just outside the forest. Small birds, some of them fluttering close to the ground in search of food, paused and took a deep breath. The scent of the lavender and mint filled the air around them, and slowly they settled onto the grass, their wings folding gently at their sides as if lulled into a calm state. The chaos of the outside world seemed to drift away, and even the buzzing insects fell silent for a moment. Lumi smiled to herself, her heart light with hope. She could see the effect of the gift she had given. The soft, calming whispers of the forest had begun to settle into the world beyond, reaching those who needed peace the most. The next part of her journey was to share the sound of the brook. She walked further, heading toward the town just beyond the fields. Lumi had been here before, though never at night. The streets were quieter now, the lights dimmer. People were still awake in their homes, restless and unsure, their minds buzzing with thoughts and worries. Lumi found the nearest window and, with a gentle breath, whispered a few words. The sound of the brook spilled out into the air, its calming gurgle filling the space. Inside the house, a woman sat by the window, her brow furrowed as she stared out at the dark sky. The noise of her busy day echoed in her mind, and sleep seemed a distant dream. But as she sat in the silence, she began to hear the soft trickling of water. At first, she thought it was a memory, something from her childhood, but then the sound became clearer, more distinct. She felt her shoulders relax as she turned her gaze to the stars outside her window, and for the first time in hours, she took a deep, cleansing breath. The sound of the brook, so gentle and persistent, seemed to reach her heart, soothing her restlessness. Lumi continued her journey through the night, sharing the whispering leaves with those who needed them. As she walked the streets and paths that wove between homes, she could feel the transformation that was beginning to take place. People started to slow down. Some people closed their eyes, taking deep breaths, and the tension in their faces began to fade. It was as if the world outside, for just a moment, had embraced the peace of the forest, allowing the writhe of the trees to heal their tired minds. But Lumi knew that her task was not complete. There was still more gift to share, one that would truly bring the peace of the whispering forest to those who needed it most. She continued along the winding path, her paws making no sound against the earth, and came upon a house at the edge of the town. The lights inside were dim, but the figure of a man could be seen moving around inside. Lumi could feel his unease, the worry in his heart that kept him awake long into the night. He was pacing back and forth, looking out the window at the sky, wondering how he could solve the problems that had been weighing on him. His mind raced with thoughts of work, family, and all the things that seemed to require his attention, leaving no room for sleep. Lumi stood quietly outside his window, listening as the wind whispered through the branches of a nearby tree. The voice of the trees was soft and steady, like a lullaby that could guide anyone into the peaceful embrace of sleep. Lumi closed her eyes and let the breeze gather the whispers, the rustling of the leaves, and the soft calls of the night birds, until it was all mixed into a melody that could soothe the soul. She stepped closer to the window and, with a soft breath, released the sound into the air. Inside, the man stopped pacing. He felt a strange calm wash over him, as if the weight of his worries had momentarily lifted. The sound of the leaves rustling seemed to resonate deep within him, and slowly his breathing steadied. The whispers of the forest filled the room, a gentle reminder that sometimes the world didn't need to be solved all at once. Sometimes the best thing was to simply stop, breathe, and let go. He closed his eyes, sinking into the quiet rhythm of the forest, and soon he was asleep, his body finally at rest, his mind quieted by the peace that Lumi had shared. Lumi smiled softly, knowing that the gifts she had carried from the forest had worked their magic. The restless minds had found peace, and the whispering forest whispers had calmed them, one by one. The world outside was still chaotic and uncertain, but tonight, the calming embrace of the forest had reached deep into the hearts of those who needed it most. As the first light of dawn began to peek over the horizon, Lumi made her way back toward the forest's edge. The air was quieter now, the chaos of the night slowly dissipating with the rising sun. Vixen with this of this The sounds of the brook and the wind through the leaves seemed to soften, as if the forest itself was sighing in contentment. The forest was peaceful again, and Lumi could feel the energy of the land returning to its natural rise. She walked back toward the wise willow, the first rays of the sun casting a soft glow over the forest. The ancient tree stood tall, its branches reaching up toward the sky, and Lumi approached it with a feeling of accomplishment. She had done what she needed to do. She had shared the forest's peace with the world beyond, and the whispers of the trees had worked their magic. As she reached the base of the tree, she paused and looked up, her heart full. The wise willow's voice filled the air once more, calm and knowing. "Well done, Lumi," it said. "You have shared the peace of the forest with those who needed it most. The forest whispers will continue, and they will find their way to those who seek rest and calm." Lumi smiled softly, knowing that the work was never truly done. The whispers of the forest would always be there, waiting for those who needed them, and she would always be there, guiding them gently toward sleep, one peaceful breath at a time. And so, as the sun rose over the whispering forest, Lumi curled up beneath the wise willow, her work done for the night. The gentle breeze continued to whisper through the trees, carrying with it the promise of peaceful sleep, and Lumi drifted off into her own peaceful slumber, knowing that the forest's gift of rest would always be there when it was needed, and she would always be there, guiding them gently toward sleep, one peaceful breath at a time. And so, as the sun rose over the whispering forest, Lumi curled up beneath the wise willow, her work done for the night. The gentle breeze continued to whisper through the trees, carrying with it the promise of peaceful sleep, and Lumi drifted off into her own peaceful slumber, knowing that the forest's gift of rest would always be there when it was needed most. Stars shared their stories with her. They told her about the places they had watched over the deep forests, the calm seas, and the bustling villages below. Myra listened carefully, her heart warmed by their tales. One night, as Myra polished a small star, she noticed something unusual. A tiny star near the edge of the sky was dim and flickering. It seemed tired and sad, unlike the others. Myra gently cradled that dim star in her hands. "What's wrong, little one?" she asked softly. The star twinkled faintly, as if trying to speak. Myra closed her eyes, feeling its quiet sadness. The star did feel like it belonged in the sky. It wanted something different, something special. Myra thought for a moment. "Perhaps you need to see the world below," she said. "Sometimes a journey helps us find our light again." The star flickered weakly, as if agreeing. So Myra wrapped it carefully in her moonlight cloth and placed it in her basket. With the star safe in her care, Myra began her descent from the mountain. The wind whispered around her, and the stars above watched curiously. Myra walked through the quiet meadows, the soft glow of the star lighting her path. She passed through a forest where the trees swayed gently, as if bowing to her. She crossed a bubbling stream where the water seemed to laugh as it flowed. The little star grew a bit brighter with each new sight. Myra finally stopped by a small, peaceful lake. The water was still, reflecting the moon and stars like a perfect mirror. She held the star up to the sky. "Do you feel better here?" she asked. The star twinkled faintly but didn't seem settled. Myra nodded thoughtfully. "Not yet. Let's keep looking." She walked on, carrying the star through the quiet night. Eventually, she reached the edge of the village. The houses were dark, and the streets were silent as the villagers slept peacefully. In the center of the village was a small garden filled with flowers. Myra knelt among the blooms and placed the star gently in the middle. Its soft glow lit up the garden, casting a warm, golden light over the petals. "Rest here, little one," Myra said softly. "Let the flowers keep you company. When you are ready, the ski will welcome you back." The star twinkled gently, its light steady and calm. It seemed happy now, nestled among the flowers. Myra smiled, her heart light with joy. She stayed for a while, watching the star settle into its new home. As dawn began to break, Myra returned to the mountain. The other stars were waiting for her, their lights bright and cheerful. They whispered their thanks as she tucked them into the ski for their daytime rest. Weeks passed, and the little star flourished in its garden home. The villagers noticed its gentle glow and began calling it the garden star. They visited it in the evenings, sitting quietly by its light and feeling their worries fade away. But the star's journey wasn't over. One evening, as Myra tended her garden on the mountainside, she felt a familiar glow. She looked up to see the little star, now brighter than ever, floating toward her. Myra said, her voice filled with warmth. "You've found your light again." The star twinkled joyfully, filling Myra's garden with its golden glow. It didn't need words, its happiness was clear. Myra smiled. "Welcome home." The star returned to the sky that night, shining brighter than ever. Its light was a reminder to everyone below that finding where we belong can make us shine in ways we never imagined. And so, under the care of the Star Keeper, the stars continued to sparkle, lighting up the world with their gentle glow. High in the mountains, Myra continued her work, guiding the stars with her kind hands and soothing song, ensuring that every light in the ski felt loved and at peace. As the seasons changed, Myra noticed how the stars above adapted in their own ways. Some shone brighter during the cold, snowy winters, while others seemed to save their most dazzling displays for the warm, vibrant summers. Each star had its unique personality, and Myra cherished them all as if they were her children. One evening, Myra climbed to the peak with her golden basket and moonlight cloth, as she always did. The stars gathered around her, twinkling eagerly, waiting for her gentle touch. But tonight, something felt different. The stars hummed with a quiet excitement, their lights flickering in a way Myra had seen before. "What's the matter, my little ones?" she asked softly, her voice carrying over the mountain like a warm breeze. The stars seemed to gather closer together, forming a tight cluster. In their center was a tiny, newborn star, its light faint and trembling. Myra gasped softly, her heart swelling with tenderness. It was rare for a new star to appear, and this one was as delicate as a snowflake. "Oh, you precious thing," Myra murmured, reaching out to cradle the tiny star in her hands. Its surface was cool and soft, its glow barely visible. The other stars twinkled with pride and concern, as if presenting the newborn to Mara for her special care. She nodded, understanding their unspoken request. "I'll take care of this little one," she promised. Myra worked gently, polishing that tiny star with her moonlight cloth and humming her soothing melody. The star's light grew slightly stronger under her touch, but it was still fragile, as if unsure of its place in the vast sky. "This one is different," Myra thought to herself as she worked. "It needs more than polishing. It needs to find its purpose." She decided to take that tiny star on a journey, just as she had done for the garden star. Perhaps the world below could help this new star find its light. Carrying the star carefully in her golden basket, Myra descended the mountain. Myra descended the Ionian, her golden the wind whispered around her, carrying the hopes of the other stars. They trusted Myra completely, knowing she would guide their newest member with love and wisdom. Myra walked through the meadows, that tiny star glowing faintly in her basket. The wildflowers swayed in the breeze, their colors softened by the star's gentle light. Myra paused to let the star take in the beauty of the meadow, but it remained quiet and still. She continued on, crossing a wooden bridge over a bubbling stream. The water's laughter seemed to echo in the night, and Myra held the star close, hoping the cheerful sounds would spark its light. But the star stayed dim, its glow hesitant. Myra was discouraged. She knew that finding On's light could take time. She walked through the forest, where the trees whispered ancient secrets, and over hills that rolled like waves frozen in time. Finally, she reached a wide, open field where fireflies danced like tiny stars brought to earth. That tiny star flickered faintly, catching sight of the fireflies. Myra smiled. "Do you like them?" she asked softly. The star twinkled weakly in response. Myra set her basket down and let the star rest among the fireflies. The little creatures flitted around it, their golden lights mingling with its soft glow. For a moment, that tiny star seemed to grow brighter, as if encouraged by the fireflies' dance. But as the night wore on, the star's light dimmed again. Myra realized that while the fireflies had brought it some joy, they weren't enough to awaken its true glow. She picked up her basket and continued her journey. As dawn approached, Myra reached the edge of the sea. The waves stretched endlessly before her, their rhythm soothing and constant. The horizon glowed with the first light of day, and the sky was painted in shades of pink and gold. Myra knelt by the water's edge, holding that tiny star up to the sky. "Look," she whispered. "The world is vast and beautiful. There is a place for you in it. You just need to find where you belong." The star twinkled softly, its light steady but still faint. Myra sighed gently, cradling it close. She knew its journey was far from over, but she was determined to help it find its way. As the sun rose higher, Myra returned to the mountains with that tiny star in her basket. The other stars greeted her warmly, their lights bright with curiosity and concern. Myra placed that tiny star gently among them, where it seemed to relax in their comforting glow. "We'll try again tomorrow," Myra said softly, her voice filled with quiet determination. "You're not alone, little one." Well, find your light together." The stars twinkled in agreement, their lights surrounding Thetane's star with warmth and love. Myra smiled, her heart filled with hope. She knew that every star had a place in the sky, and she would do everything she could to help this one find its home. Myra continued her work, tending to the stars each night, while keeping a close watch over that tiny one. Days turned into weeks, and though the newborn star's light flickered weakly, it showed no signs of fully brightening. The other stars whispered their concerns through their twinkling, but Myra's faith never wavered. One evening, as she climbed to the peak with her golden basket, she noticed something peculiar. The wind carried a different tune, one she had heard before, a low, harmonious hum that seemed to vibrate through the air. Myra paused, her gaze sweeping the horizon. "What is that?" she murmured, clutching her basket tightly. The stars gathered around her, their lights dimming slightly as if to listen. The hum grew louder, resonating deep within Myra's chest. It was an unpleasant sound, rather. It felt ancient, like the earth itself was singing. Myra looked down at the tiny star in her basket. Its faint glow pulsed in time with the hum, as if responding to the mysterious melody. "Perhaps this is what you've been waiting for," Myra whispered, her heart fluttering with hope. Determined to uncover the source of the sound, Myra began her descent from the mountain, carrying Thetane's star close to her chest. The other stars followed her progress from above, their lights forming a gentle path in the sky. The hum grew clearer as Myra walked through the meadows and forests. It was coming from the land, it seemed to be emanating from the sea. With every step, the sound grew richer, layered with harmonies that made Myra's soul ache with wonder. When she reached the shore, she saw something extraordinary. Rising from the waves was a towering crystal spire, its surface shimmering with every color of the rainbow. The hum was coming from the spire, its vibrations rippling through the water and into the air. Thetane's star in Myra's hands began to glow brighter than ever before, its light trembling with excitement. Myra held it up, her voice soft with awe. "Is this where you belong?" The star twinkled in response, its light pulsing in time with the spire's hum. Its light with this pulsing with Myra smiled, tears of joy welling in her eyes. "Go, little one," she said, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "Find your place." The star floated out of her hands and toward the spire. As it approached, its light grew stronger, merging with the colors reflected on the crystal surface. The spire seemed to welcome the star, its hum growing louder and more harmonious. Myra watched as Thetane's star nestled into a hollow at the center of the spire. The moment it settled, the entire structure lit up, casting a radiant glow over the sea and sky. The stars above twinkled with joy, their lights dancing in celebration. The spire's hum softened, becoming a gentle melody that seemed to fill the world with peace. Myra stood in silence, her heart swelling with pride. That tiny star had found its purpose, and its light was now a beacon for all who gazed upon it. As the first rays of dawn painted the horizon, Myra turned to make her way back to the mountains. The other stars greeted her warmly, their lights brighter than ever before. They seemed to thank her for her dedication, for never giving up on one of their own. From that day on, the The crystal spire and its star became a source of wonder for all who saw them. Sailors used its light to guide their ships, and villagers would journey to the shore to bask in its calming glow. Myra continued her work, caring for the stars each night and ensuring their lights shone brightly. But every so often, she would pause and look toward the sea where the spire stood tall and proud. And in those moments, she would smile, her heart full of quiet joy, knowing that even the faintest light could grow into something extraordinary when given the chance to shine. Under the watchful care of the Star Keeper, the sky remained a tapestry of light and wonder, each star a testament to the power of love, patience, and the endless possibilities of the universe. Once upon a time, high up in the sky, there was a small star named Lumi. Lumi was not like the other stars. While the other stars were bright and shiny, Lumi was smaller and softer, with a gentle glow that shimmered quietly in the night. Lumi lived in a big, sparkling sky with countless other stars. They would all shine together, lighting up the world below. But Lumi often wondered what it would be like to shine like the bigger stars. She wished she could be bright enough to be noticed by everyone, lighting up the sky in a grand way. One evening, as Lumi gazed down at the peaceful world below, a wise old star named Orion spoke to her. "Why do you look so sad, little star?" Orion asked in a soft voice, his light steady and calm. "I want to shine brightly just like the other stars," Lumi replied. "I want to make the whole world see me light." Orion smiled warmly, his light twinkling softly. "You do not need to be like the other stars, Lumi. Every star has its own way of shining. The world below sees your glow, even if it is soft. Your light brings peace to the night, and that is something very special." Lumi thought about Orion's words, but she still felt unsure. "But how can I be important if I am so small and quiet?" Orion chuckled softly. "Let me tell you something, Lumi. It is not the size of the light that matters, but the kindness in it. A gentle light can make the world a peaceful place. You do not need to be loud and bright to be noticed. Sometimes a soft glow is all someone needs to feel calm and safe." Lumi smiled, feeling comforted by Orion's words. That night, instead of wishing to be brighter, she decided to simply shine the way she was. She felt her glow becoming warmer, filling the sky with a soft, peaceful light. As the days and nights passed, Lumi's glow continued to shine softly, and the people on Earth began to notice her. On quiet nights, when the world was calm and the winds were still, they would look up at the sky and see Lumi's gentle light. It made them feel peaceful, as though everything was right in the world. One evening, as Lumi gazed down at the earth below, she realized that she did not need to be like the other stars. She was perfect just the way she was. Her gentle light was enough to bring comfort and calm to anyone who needed it. And so, Lumi continued to shine softly in the sky, content in knowing that sometimes the quietest glow is the most important one of all. Lumi continued to shine softly in the night sky, feeling more peaceful than ever before. As the days went by, she realized something important. It was not the loudness or brightness of a light that mattered most. It was the kindness and warmth that a light brought to the world. One evening, as Lumi was shining softly in the sky, she saw something that made her heart fill with joy. Below her, a group of children were sitting in a field, gazing up at the stars. They were whispering to each other, pointing at the stars and telling stories about them. Lumi's gentle light was a part of their stories, and they spoke of her with fondness. "Look at that star," one of the children said. "It is so peaceful. It makes me feel calm when I look at it." Lumi's heart swelled with happiness. She had never realized how important her soft light was to others. She had been too focused on wanting to be like the bigger stars, but now she understood. Her quiet glow made a difference in the world. It helped others feel safe, calm, and peaceful. As the nights passed, more and more people began to notice Lumi's gentle light. Some would look up at the sky during sleepless nights, feeling comforted by her soft glow. Others would remember her light when they were troubled or anxious, finding peace in her quiet presence. One night, as Lumi shined down on the world, she felt a gentle breeze move through the sky. It was a soft wind, carrying with it the scent of flowers and the whispers of the forest. The wind swirled around Lumi, and she felt a sense of connection to everything around her. The trees, the flowers, the animals, and the people, they were all part of the same world, and they were all touched by her light in some way. Lumi realized that her glow was not just a gift for the people on Earth, but for the entire world around her. She was a part of the peaceful rhythm of nature, and her soft light helped to keep that rhythm steady and calm. She was not meant to shine in a loud and flashy way. Her quiet glow was enough to bring peace and comfort to all who needed it. From that night on, Lumi continued to shine brightly, but always with a gentle glow. She knew now that she did not need to be like the other stars. She was perfect just the way she was. And with every soft ray of light that she sent out into the world, she knew that she was bringing peace and calm to those who needed it most. And so, Lumi's light remained soft and steady in the night sky, a reminder to all that sometimes the quietest glow is the most important one of all. And in the hearts of those who gazed upon her, she would always be remembered as the little star who brought peace to the world. Lumi continued to shine softly in the night sky, feeling a deep sense of contentment. As the days passed, she began to realize how much she had grown. She no longer wished to be like the other stars. The more she embraced her own quiet glow, the more she understood the importance of it. Lumi's light, though gentle, touched the hearts of many. It was a reminder that peace could be found even in the smallest things. One evening, Lumi saw something that made her heart swell with joy. A family of owls had gathered in a tree, and the little owl children were looking up at the sky. They spoke in hushed voices, not wanting to disturb the peaceful night. Lumi's light shone softly over them, and they felt safe in its presence. The soft light seemed to wrap around them like a warm blanket, bringing comfort as they listened to the soothing sounds of the forest. The owls looked at the stars above, and the little ones pointed to Lumi. They smiled and spoke softly, their voices full of wonder. "That star is the most peaceful," the youngest owl said. "It makes me feel calm and happy just looking at it." Lumi's heart fluttered with happiness. She had always wanted to shine like the bigger stars, but now she knew that it was her soft glow that made her special. She realized that she did not need to be loud or bright to be important. Sometimes the quietest light was the most powerful. As time passed, Loomis light continued to shine, and the world below became a little brighter, a little calmer because of her. People would look up at the night sky and see her gentle glow. It helped them feel peaceful, as if the world was at rest and all was well. Loomis light became a symbol of comfort for those who needed it most, reminding them that even in the darkest times there was always light to be found. One night, as Lumi shined down on the earth, she felt a deep connection to everything around her. The trees, the flowers, the animals, and the people, they were all part of the same world. Her light was a part of this world, and it brought peace to everyone in its reach. Lumi no longer felt alone in the vast sky. She was a part of something much bigger than herself, something that was peaceful and beautiful. Lumi continued to shine softly, and she felt a deep sense of purpose. She had found her place in the world, and it was exactly where she was meant to be. She no longer wished to change herself or be like the other stars. Her soft glow was enough. It was more than enough. As the nights passed, Loomis light remained steady and calm, a beacon of peace in the vast sky. People would look up at her and feel comforted, knowing that they were not alone. The world below, though busy and full of noise, had a quiet place where they could rest and find peace. And so, Loomis' soft light continued to shine, bringing comfort and calm to all who gazed upon her. Her glow was not loud or flashy, but it was steady and kind, and that was what made it so special. Lumi was the little star who brought peace to the world, and she would always shine softly in the night sky, reminding everyone that sometimes the quietest light was the most important one of all. As the seasons changed, Loomis light remained a constant presence in the night sky. The world below continued to move in its busy rhythm, but there was always a moment when people would pause, look up, and feel a sense of peace wash over them. Whether it was a child having trouble sleeping or an elder who just needed a moment of calm, Loomis' soft glow provided comfort to all who needed it. One particularly quiet night, Lumi noticed something new. A traveler, tired from his long journey, had stopped in a field to rest. He gazed up at the stars, his mind heavy with thoughts of the day. The world around him was still, and the air was cool. The traveler closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath, trying to find some peace. And that was when he noticed Lumi. His tired eyes were drawn to her soft, steady light. There was something soothing about it, something that made him feel less alone in the world. The traveler sat up and smiled to himself. He had been looking for answers to many things, but in that moment all he needed was to feel at peace. He whispered softly to the night, "Thank you, little star, for reminding me that everything will be all right." Lumi felt a warmth in her light, as if the traveler's words were meant just for her. She shone a little brighter that night, not out of desire to stand out, but because she wanted to give him the peace he needed. The traveler's heart lightened, and he soon drifted off to sleep under the stars, comforted by the soft glow above. As the days passed, Loomis' quiet presence continued to touch the lives of many. In the busy city streets, people would pause during their evening walks, looking up at the sky and seeing the same peaceful light. Even on the busiest nights, when the world seemed to be rushing by, Lumi was there, a reminder that stillness and calm could always be found in the simplest things. One night, as Lumi shone brightly in the sky, a small fox wandered through the forest. It was a clear night, and the moonlight filled the trees with a soft glow. The fox, young and curious, had never seen the stars quite like this before. He had heard stories about the stars from his elders, but none of those stories had ever felt as real as the one he was experiencing now. He lay down in the grass and looked up at the sky, his eyes wide with wonder. The fox saw Lumi, glowing softly in the distance. Unlike the other stars that flickered brightly, Lumi's light was steady and calm. The fox felt an unusual sense of calm wash over him. It was as if the little star was watching over him, making him feel safe and at peace. He closed his eyes for a moment, his body relaxing, and listened to the sounds of the forest around him. The gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and he could hear the distant call of an owl. Everything felt perfect. Lumi continued to shine softly, watching over the fox, just as she had watched over so many others. She did not need to do anything grand or spectacular. Her soft glow was enough. It was enough to bring peace to those who needed it, whether they were a child trying to fall asleep, a tired traveler, or a curious fox. Lumi had found her place in the world, and it was exactly where she was meant to be. As time went on, more and more people, animals, and creatures began to notice Lumi's quiet light. She became a symbol of calm, a reminder that no matter how busy or chaotic the world might get, there would always be a moment of peace waiting for them. It could be found in the smallest things: the soft glow of a star, the gentle rustle of the leaves, or the peaceful silence of the night. And so, Lumi continued to shine softly, a constant presence in the sky. She did not need to be loud or bright, for she knew that her gentle light was more than enough. Her glow was a gift to the world, and it would remain steady and true, always there for those who needed it most. The little star who had once wished to be like the bigger stars had now found her place in the vast, beautiful sky. She was perfect just the way she was, and her quiet light brought peace to the world below. As time passed, Lumi's soft glow became a beloved part of the night sky. People across the land began to speak of her glow with affection, and it became a familiar sight for those who looked up at the stars. Some even whispered that when they were troubled or worried, Lumi's light helped them find peace. Her presence reminded them that no matter how challenging life could be, there was always comfort to be found in the simplest things. One evening, as Lumi shone gently in the sky, she noticed a group of children gathered outside in a small village. They had just finished their evening chores and were now lying on the grass, looking up at the sky. Their eyes were filled with wonder, and they pointed excitedly at the stars above. "That one," a young girl said, pointing toward Lumi, "is the most peaceful of them all. It makes me feel like the world is safe, and I can rest easy." Lumi felt a soft warmth in her light as she heard the words. It was incredible to know that her quiet presence had such a calming effect on the children. They had so much energy, yet when they looked up at her, they became calm, as if they were wrapped in a blanket of comfort. Another child spoke up, "This star is always there when we need it, and it makes me feel like nothing can hurt us. We are protected by its glow." Lumi's heart swelled with happiness. She never imagined that her light could bring such comfort to others. Her glow was not just a small, gentle light in the sky. It was a source of hope and peace for those who looked up to it. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the gift of being able to provide that peace. From that night on, Loomis' light seemed even more steady and bright. She did not change, but somehow her glow became even more meaningful. She realized that she had been part of something much bigger than herself. Her light was woven into the fabric of the world, touching lives in ways she could not always see, but which she knew were important. One particularly quiet night, Lumi saw an old man sitting on the porch of a small house, staring up at the stars. His face was weathered with age, and his eyes were tired. The man had lived a long and difficult life, and his mind was often filled with thoughts of the past. He had seen many things in his time: joy and sorrow, love and loss. And as he looked up at the sky, he wondered what had become of those days. But then, as his eyes landed on Lumi, something changed. His heart, which had been heavy with memories, began to feel lighter. There was a comfort in the quiet, steady glow of the little star. The world seemed less overwhelming, and for a moment he could just sit and breathe, free from the weight of his thoughts. The old man smiled to himself and whispered, "Thank you for reminding me that peace can still be found." Loomis' light flickered warmly, as if to acknowledge the old man's words. She did not need to do anything grand or spectacular. She only needed to be herself, quiet, gentle, and constant. That was enough. Her glow had brought peace to him, just as it had to so many others. As the nights continued, Loomis' light remained a constant source of calm. She no longer questioned her place in the sky. She knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Her glow, though soft and gentle, made a difference in the lives of those who gazed upon it. Whether it was a child falling asleep, a traveler resting under the stars, or an old man finding solace in the night, Loomis' light was always there to offer comfort and peace. One last time, Lumi looked down upon the world below. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, the flowers bloomed quietly in the fields, and the creatures of the night moved through the darkness. Everything was at peace. Everything was exactly as it should be. Lumi took a deep breath and settled into her quiet light. She had learned something important. Sometimes the smallest things, the quietest moments, can have the greatest impact. And she was proud to be that quiet light, bringing calm and peace to the world. And so, Lumi continued to shine softly, always there for those who needed her most, always a steady, gentle light in the night sky. The little star who had once wished to be like the others had found her true purpose. And in her soft glow, she would always bring peace to the world.